This is Wilson Morales from Black Film TV talking to supervising producer and director of episode 5 and 9 of season 2 of Power Book 4 Force, Lisa Demaine. How are you?
I am great. How are you doing?
Good. So we're obviously talking what just happened in episode 5, which is a doozy because we just now have two key characters disappear for now. One definitely gone, another one who may come back. So obviously, as a supervising producer doing these episodes, what went into that decision in terms of taking out Vic?
Yeah, taking out Walter, you mean?
Yeah, Walter, yes.
Yeah, taking out Walter. Yeah, I mean, that was Gary came at the beginning of the season, Gary Lennon, our showrunner, and was like, listen, you're doing episode 5, and just so you know, Walter is going out in that. And I was like, what? He was like, yeah, I think the big decision is behind it is that in the world of power, no one is safe. And they say that, but I think with taking Walter Flynn out, they really mean that. Like, no one is safe in this world. Drug dealing is a dirty, dangerous business. And if you're going to play in it, no one is safe, right? And I think that willing to lose a giant character like Tommy Flanagan, Walter Flynn, demonstrates that.
But to have his own son take him out, it's almost going back to like, this is what power means. Blood is not thicker than water in these episodes. Like we already saw it with Power, where the son takes out the father.
Yep.
We see it in other episodes where like it doesn't matter how close you are to anybody can go.
Yeah. And it's really interesting because this particular episode, I think, has a lot of familial themes in it. Kate, Tommy, DMACC, JP, right? And they're familial. We've got Diamond and Jenard meeting their daddy. We meet their daddy for the first time, and the longing of like wishing they had a better father than they do. And then Diamond and Jenard trying to come together right after the death of their dad. And then the whole dynamic of the Flynn family and what does it mean to be father son. And I was really interesting when I was talking with Shane and Tommy about shooting that scene when Vic confronts Walter. And I was like, with Shane, I'm like, you got to go. You got to let go. There can be nothing cold-hearted about this. It has to be a hot white light for you in order for you to be angry enough to actually do it and kill your father, right? Because otherwise you don't know if Vic's got it in him.
I know, but then you look at Vic, it's like, now, okay, he killed his father. He had a reason to. But then towards the end, he's got to go to the FBI and become a snitch. I'm like, really? That doesn't end well.
That's the thing. What is going to happen to Vic? And what's so interesting now, the family dynamic between Claudia and Vic, Claudia thinks that they're both going to be struggling to take over the Flynn organization, right? And Vic, what games is he going to play with his sister? What games is he going to have to play with Tommy? Now, if he's turning state's evidence and going in to work with the FBI and the task force.
Mm-hmm. Then you have DMACC. You're like, he's going away for some time. We don't know if he's going to come back or not. When Tommy says, I'll take care of it, I didn't think Tommy would be that heartless to take him out, but he found a way to get him off, at least screen for some time now. But then he's going to let Kate believe that he took him out, and I don't know what goes into the notion of letting Kate believe that both her sons are ruthless enough to kill her grandson.
I think Tommy is a wounded bird, right? Tommy is a wounded bird. Those wounds from Kate are deep. And we see what Tommy's capable of through the whole power world, right? He is ruthless when he needs to be. I think that there's a part of Tommy that he just wishes Kate would have loved him the way she's loving on DMACC. There's a little boy hurt in there, so to speak, a longing to have mom. And so I think when he had to take care of it, he doesn't want her nonsense. He's like tired of it, right? And so just to let her hanging like that, and Patricia's so great as well. The three of them in that scene, you're animals. I raised animals. And JP's like, you didn't raise us. We raised ourselves. Oh my God, right? Isn't that the truth of that moment? And then Kate, off she goes, loses her sobriety. Crap.
What goes into obviously being a supervising producer, then coming down a bit to direct these 2 episodes. Obviously, episode 9 is always the one that we're all going to see because it's just in the history of TV shows. The 9th episode is always a big one.
Yep.
You know, you go way back to Sopranos. It's like, okay, it's the one that's got to set us up to say, oh, we got to be paying attention to the finale. Otherwise,
Oh,
if the finale doesn't hit, you're gonna go back to episode 9, and either will say they should have stopped it at there.
yep, absolutely. Yeah, it's supervising producing is a job that I love. I love, it's sort of the overall picture of keeping eyes on tone and helping directors find, their footing and being there to support their vision. Making sure we're giving them opportunities for picking good locations, giving them a good smorgasbord of that, making sure we're giving them great opportunities of casting local cast and what we're casting, and like they get great opportunities, really supporting them. That is my role as a supervising producer, is that vision happens while still protecting the writing, right? And what the intentions are for Gary and the producers on that side, right? And sort of melding that together. I itch to direct when I'm producing.
You know,
I itch to direct, and so when my time comes, I'm like, yes, all right, good, back in. But it's a little more challenging because I still have my producing duties that I'm doing, where I'm having to watch certain cuts and taking a look at certain things and auditions and that kind of thing, and looking at locations for the prepping director while I'm doing my thing. So it's a little challenging that way, but I love it.
the selling of these shows is the writing. The fact that when you're watching one episode, there's so many scenes with so many actors and so many storylines being told, and somehow we all know it's going to come together next episode towards the end of the season. Like, even we never even got into the FBI and her crusade, Jenard and his downfall, like what's going to take for him to to sober up, instead of taking, sneezing or snorting, you know.
Yeah,
There's so much going on in there. It's like, okay, what's the play here, and then you've got Tommy and his love relationship, to see where that's gonna go.
I,
It's like these guys can never find true love. The one thing about power shows is, like, forget about romance. People don't go in there for the romance. It's like,
right.
they don't go in there for that.
Right. Well, and it's interesting because, again, if you are trying to take over the entire drug world and be the connect and become, take over the cartel as a drug king, uh, who can you let in your life that's going to be safe, right? And so seeing the people dance around him with that, and episode 9, we, without being able to say too much because it is a big episode, and the task force is getting their tentacles out into the world, and as in the power world, people die and drug dealing's a dangerous game, so 9 is big as well.
Now, when you came on board, how much of a did you have to watch all of the shows to be very familiar? So when you're talking to fans like me and we're name dropping stuff, like, you have to be clued in, like, oh, in your for a split second, you have to think he's going back to this one episode, or that's what happened last season, or what happened to other shows that connects to this season.
For sure. I mean, I think that's a responsibility to the material and a responsibility to the world. So when I started, I had watched the Power World and had seen all the episodes, but I just sat down and I rewatched, and I laugh. I have a teenage son, and he'd be like, come in, blah, blah. I'm like, no, I'm working right now. He goes, you're not working, you're watching TV. I'm like, no, that's my work. I'm working, but I feel like it's important to know where this show has been. And obviously the Power World, the Powerverse is such a special world and has a special connection with the audience, is to, respect that and understand it. That's important as a filmmaker.
And we've got more episodes to go, obviously, before episode 9 comes up. Are we going to see any familiar faces from the past show up?
Yeah. I see a
you know,
lot.
to see, so that way it gets the fans buzzing, like, especially
Oh,
after,
um,
you know,
yeah. Oh, from the other Powerverse worlds.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. No. Maybe.
you know, yeah, because early last season was good, and obviously when you're watching these shows, people are always looking for those familiar connections, and it keeps the string alive. Like, people go back. Like, when something old comes back again, they're either rewatching it on YouTube, or they're going back to Stars and like, let's rewatch this episode to see how it's all connected in
Yeah.
here.
Yeah.
And so, like, and it's almost like every episode got to hit a grand slam to the following episode, because that's what keeps the fans keep coming back. That's what brings in a new audience.
Yeah.
For all you've done on other shows, not to compare, but how much have you learned from other shows coming onto this shows that helps your skill set as both a director and as a producer?
Yeah, I mean, every time you're in the captain's chair, you learn stuff. Like if you're not, you are not paying attention, right? To being open to there's always new challenges, there's always different ways actors like to work. Every show runs differently. Every showrunner likes their episodes to be shot in a certain way. So as a guest director, that's a nimble skill set you need to have when you drop into a show, you direct an episode, and then you leave, right? That's a whole skill set of, you're the boss, but you're dropping in as the guest, right? And so there's a real learning that you do every time. And I learn every time I step on a set, every time I crack a script open, there's new things to learn. As a supervising producer, what's been really fun for me is like, I have, over 20 years of experience in the film business and television business. Prior to becoming a director, I was a first assistant director. And so, the nuts and bolts of physical production, living on a set, running the set, watching and problem solving and making decisions day after day, year after year, I have, that is in my wheelhouse. And so that's been a really great transition of taking all of that experience and bringing it to the table as a supervising producer.
Mhm. After episode, then you obviously, there's episode 6. We're going to see what happens next. If you weren't a supervising producer, would it be difficult coming in and just doing 5 and then coming back to do 9?
Yeah, there's different pressure. What's nice is being a supervising producer is I have a really nice shorthand with the cast, because I'm there. Part of my role that I make sure that, when there's any intimacy, I'm always on the set to make sure that, we have an intimacy coordinator and what have you, but just to make sure that the actors are feeling safe, comfortable. I got your back. We're watching you. If you have anything and you don't feel comfortable saying something to the director, you make eye contact with me. I'm there. You know what I mean? And so, but I have a shorthand with them, understanding, talking about their character. And so dropping in, being there from the beginning, it gives me a shorthand with the actors. We're friends. We go out to dinner. Like I know them. And so that just makes it so much easier to really dig into what the scene is about, right? And get vulnerable.
Well, congrats on obviously the gigs, the episodes. It's kind of funny. We're talking about Walter, and I literally just watched yesterday Braveheart. I forgot. Oh, there he is. I forgot how young he was.
There he was.
And you look at him now, and you're like, okay, people will talk about the way Walter went out, and what happens next, so it keeps the fans keep coming back for more. So congrats, and hopefully we'll talk again on episode 9. Let's see where we're at from there. I'm sure there'll be more depth. The question is who.
Yeah, exactly. Awesome. Wilson, thank you so much. I appreciate it.